Trisha Goyer here, and I'm here with Sami Abrams, and we are talking about her new book, Impending Strike, which I am so excited. Look at these. We got the books. We got the
We're
books.
twinning.
Oh, Sami, I am so glad you're here. Why don't we just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am an empty nester. I have 2 adult children, and I have been married to my husband for 31 years. I had to think about that for a second. And we are originally from Kansas, and we moved to California about 2 to 3 weeks after we got married. So really quick, been in California the rest of the time. Everybody always is astounded. I grew up, I hated to read, couldn't stand it,
Oh,
couldn't stand it.
wow.
Yeah, no. Part of it, attention span of a gnat. So, hit about my 30s, was introduced to Terry Blackstock's books.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was called her Second Chances. So they were the shorter ones. Got hooked on her, added Dee Henderson to the mix, then added Lynette Eason, and here I am reading 2, 3, 4 books a week. So,
That is amazing. So you basically found the genre that you loved. I mean, you're not going to do like the big historical, sweeping, long books. You're like, action.
Exactly.
Really dynamic characters, and let's get this thing done. And I love how once you found it, like then you found another author, and then you found another author, and then you're writing. You're writing them now, which is like, growing up. If someone said you're going to be an author and write books, like what would you have said?
I would have told them they were crazy. It's like, no, just no.
I
Short
love
stories and stuff, but books, no way. Yeah, well, here I am.
That is so cool. Okay, let's talk about this book. And let's talk about, first of all, we'll talk about the premise of the book and the story because it's super fun. And then we'll talk about kind of the process. So just tell us like that. I mean, don't give too much away because I have to read it, but tell us about the premise of the book.
Okay. The premise is, well, first of all, Impending Strike is part of Lynette Eason's story world of the Elite Guardians.
Yeah.
So I have 2 guardians in my book as my hero and heroine. I have Lizzie and Charlie. And the premise is basically Lizzie has to protect Charlie. And Charlie gets injured.
Did you get that? Did you get that? Lizzie's protecting Charlie.
Oh yeah, which is a point of contention anyway. But no, Charlie's hurt. He can't remember the last 4 years of his life, but he knows he heard something that's very important, and so she's there. And then his life is threatened multiple times. She's there to protect him and help him remember his life, and with that, hopefully, this important thing that he can't remember. And that's pretty much it right there.
Yes, and right from the beginning, there's some chemistry between them, but then he forgets. I'm like, what? No, don't forget her. So this character, like from the first page, and I won't go into too much like through the book because you just got to read it. But from the first page, you're like, she is one bad chick. Like she is so cool, and just how she walks. I love how you just introduced it. Like she just walks onto the stage and she has presence and she is like knows herself. She is willing to risk her life. But also there's this tenderness to her because she's a mom. And I just love her character. So tell us a little bit about the characters and just why you wanted to write their stories.
Well, Lizzie, thanks to Lynette, is a single mom, which I forgot. And when I went back and reread the series after I was chosen to write her story, I was like, oh no, she has a kid. How am I going to? Because you don't just throw the kid in there. They have to be relevant. It has to be,
Yes.
So that was a challenge. But she is a single mom. She used to be law enforcement. So she has all that background and she has a very tragic backstory. So it's one of those, okay, you kind of feel for her anyway. She loves to learn things. She is always, out out to learn the latest and greatest, whether it's self-defense, something new, archaeology, computers, whatever it is. She's always learning stuff. And that actually comes in handy in this particular story of something new that she's learning. And so she was just, and she's fun. She comes across as a what you see is what you get type girl.
Yeah.
But she also has that mom side, and she has a little mom guilt going as well. The thing about Lizzie, and to me, I'm not giving anything away, but you'll find out very quickly she has depression and anxiety. So she has her times, and she keeps it a secret. She doesn't want anybody to know. So that's Lizzie in a nutshell. She's just one tough chick, but she's got a lot going on underneath. Charlie.
Go ahead.
Charlie is just a fun-loving guy. He is just fun to be around, always joking, the life of the party, and he's always been like that. But something happened 4 years ago that caused him to use that humor to hide all these feelings underneath. So now he's the life of the party, always joking. Sometimes you'll never see him take things seriously. He's very much work-oriented, but when it comes to dating, he's not going there. And Lizzie and Charlie have this thing, but neither one of them is willing to take a chance on it. Until he forgets that he's not supposed to.
Yes, I love that. He doesn't remember the reasons why he had walls up.
That's right.
Which is so cool. And what I love about Lizzie is because she's really tough and she puts herself in these very difficult situations. But then you're like, don't do that because you have a kid. Don't go there. But then you're like, she's going there. So I think even though initially you forgot that, like, oh my goodness, she's a single mom, I think that it just added so much to the story that you really care, and it just kind of ups the stakes. Like, oh no, like you have to take care of yourself, and you cannot put yourself in these situations. But then she does, and it just makes it more like, I think it just ups the tension when you're reading it, because of course, yes, we do care if we don't want her to get hurt, but the fact that she has a child, then you're like, we really, really, really don't want her to get hurt.
Yeah. I tried to make it so she's not careless. She does call him back up. She does take care of business, but she does put herself in situations, or I shouldn't say she puts herself there. She gets in situations that are dangerous. So.
Yeah, so good. Okay, so then you mentioned a little bit when you were talking part of the audition. So many people may not know that this is part of Sunrise Publishing, and they're like, wait, it says Lynette Eason's name on here, but then it's Sami's name on here too. And then you said something about audition. So why don't you explain that process for someone who might not be familiar with it?
Okay. Sunrise is a new publishing company by Susie May Warren and Lindsay Harrell. And it is to bring new authors together with well-established award-winning authors to mentor them in the process. The draft authors, the new authors, write the story in the other author's story world, and the lead author is their mentor. They come in, they mentor them through, help them with rewrites, help them with plot ideas, and just kind of assist them along the way and help them with their edits. So it is my story, but Lynette was there every step of the way. As she put it, she goes, I'm not letting something that's not going to be a Lynette Eason book out there so that my readers will love it. But it is, we try to stay, or I shouldn't say we try to stay close to her voice. Our voices are hopefully close to Lynette's so that it speaks to her readers.
Right. So it's not going to be like they're going to pick up within Lynette's name on it. It's going to be like a Trisha Goyer Amish book. Like it's going to be, it's in her story world. It's kind of the same, similar pacing.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's voice is different because we all write, but it is people that love Lynette's books, who love her story world, are going to love this book. They're going to pick it up. And like Lynette does, I mean, you did such a fantastic job from the first page. It's like danger, problems, let's go here. And I'm like, oh, I'm so nervous for these people. So if you love Lynette's books, I mean, this is part of it. Then this is what Susie and Lindsay came up with, is like, we're going to take their story world, but then also we're going to help launch newer authors, and we're going to help them learn from the lead authors and learn about writing and about story worlds and about plotting. I mean, at the retreat, because I'm also a lead author, I was just like sitting there with Susie going, this is amazing. Like, my process is completely different, but just seeing how she does things, I was blown away. So what was that process like, going from, okay, I have this idea, to all of a sudden you're working with Susie and Lynette and like kind of taking this bigger picture of publishing from them?
You know, being with Susie and having Susie help you is blow your hair back. I mean, she is.
I was blowing my hair back. I read lady books and I was like, whoa.
Wait. You know, she is just larger than life, especially when you start sitting down to work with her. In some ways, I think we were a challenge. Our season was a challenge to Susie because Kate, Kelly, and I and Lynette are all pantsers. And we were trying to plot. Doesn't go over well.
Yeah.
So we, you know, they gave us a little grace, and we did more of a plan than a plot.
Okay.
We kind of stuck with the general. When I know all of us were like, oh, I don't, you know, we stuck with the general concepts. Our plan did change because pantsing, you know.
You're like, oh, this could happen. Oh, what about this? This could happen.
In fact, I called Lynette. I was about, I don't know, part of the way through the book, and I call and I'm like, Lynette, this isn't going to work. Like, this is not going to work. And she said, what's not going to work? I thought we had, I'm like, and I told her, and she's like, you're right, that's not going to work.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to brainstorm and come up with some ideas to make it work. So, and once we finished, I was very, very pleased with how it all came about, you know, that piece that wouldn't work. So, and that's what Lynette was there for, is to talk it through and keep it within her world and, you know, that type of thing. So it was, the retreat was awesome. We were so tired with, you know, because you're just jamming out books, jamming out ideas, and listening to Susie and learning and talking to Lynette, getting her input. You know, you're just like, by day 4, you're just like, okay, I'm tired now.
Yeah. And your brain is completely, I've written a lot of books and I'm like, wow, this is great. This is a lot. I said, so crazy, Trisha, love this interview. I know that's your jam, but, oh yeah. So it's one of my friends growing up that is in here commenting. That is awesome. So I was, just before we were talking, Beth, Sam and I was mentioning to Sammy that I was from Weed. So
and I know where it is.
and Sammy knows where Weed is. So Beth, I love that you're on here talking about missionettes and weeds. I think that is so cool. Oh, see, you never know what's gonna pop up. Weed, California. Oh, okay. So I think one thing that is cool, because even for those who do plot a lot, I think we all have more pantsers. And for those that don't know, there's plotters who like lay out everything, and there's pantsers that kind of start writing and see where the story leads them. But I know I just finished the book today, which I'm so thankful for. And at the end, it was completely different than what I thought, because the characters, I'm sure Lizzie and Charlie didn't always do what you thought they were supposed to do. Yeah. They kind of just take over. And they just kind of do it, which is so weird, because you're like, wait, you're the one writing them. But I know that they just kind of become bigger than life. So did they do that as you're writing the book, kind of just take over, like, we're doing this and we're going here?
Yes, they did. I'm notorious for rabbit trails. And sometimes those rabbit trails take me a whole different path. And I'm like, wait, come back. And it's like, nope, we're going this. So, you know, they kind of do their own thing. That's why, you know, that whole pantsing versus plotting, I can't make my characters go in a direction. It just mentally doesn't work. And, you know, I've said this a lot. people are starting to know my method of stuff.
Mm.
And my villain, I don't know who the villain is until the very end.
That just
So,
blows my mind.
yeah.
And then you're like, is it that moment where you're like, oh my goodness?
Yeah, the villain kind of goes, "It's me, write me in here." It's like, "Oh, okay, it's you." All right. It's like I come up with different ideas. Like, oh, it could be this person, it could be that. So I have people in there, so I don't have to go
Right.
back and add a bunch. But it's like I sometimes I'll start out going, "Okay, you're going to be the villain," and I get to a certain point, and it's like, "You're not the villain. Who else could it be?" I don't know. So it makes it interesting when you don't know who the villain is, because then you can't. Throwing in the red herrings seems to come fairly natural because
Yeah.
you're like trying out different villains. It's almost
I
that way.
love that. That is so good. And I know you probably just too, I always get my characters into trouble and I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get them out of the situation. Like, no idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
It's
then
like, how did
somehow
you get there?
our brain will just figure it out. Like, we'll just be like,
Mhm.
I don't even know how that works. It's just so amazing. All right. So this is Impending Strike. When is the official release? Was it last week when it officially released?
It was Tuesday, the 28th.
Okay.
So just a
Oh,
couple days ago.
that's a couple days ago. So this is
Mhm.
brand new, hot off the press, and I just love the cover. She's so striking. Talk about strike. I mean, she's just so striking. Hot off the presses. Definitely need to check it out. It's also available on Kindle. Is the audiobook available yet, or is it?
The audiobook is available through other places. It's not out on Audible yet.
Okay,
It's
it's
there.
coming.
It should be coming on Audible, but it is on audiobooks through other locations.
Okay, good. So
So,
I love listening to audiobooks, so I just always have to ask that. Okay, now tell us a little bit about your writing journey. Because, okay, first of all, tell us, this isn't the only book that's releasing this year. So tell us a little bit about, because it seems like all of a sudden there's all these books. So I would love for you to start by telling about some of the books that you're releasing, and then kind of like how you got there on the journey.
okay. So my debut novel came out December 28th of 2021, and it was love-inspired suspense, buried cold case secrets.
Awesome.
Then Impending Strike just came out December. Oh my goodness. I'm on the wrong month. Whatever.
You're writing a lot of books. It's okay.
Yeah, whatever. June 28th, so it just came out. Twin Murder Mix-Up is another love-inspired suspense, and it comes out August 23rd. Then I have Detecting Secrets, which is another love-inspired suspense that comes out February 21st, 2023. So in this coming February.
Uh-huh.
Then the Elite Guardians. Kate Kelly and I will have novellas in an anthology book that comes out Christmas of 2023.
Okay.
In addition to that, I have another LIS coming out around that time that I'm working on right now.
And that's love inspired suspense.
Yes.
Just to keep
Let's keep it right. Okay. And then in 2024, we have a full-length Elite Guardian book that we're moving the agency, or we're opening a new agency in Savannah, Georgia, that we just did a research trip on. And that will
Yes.
come out in 2024. We're excited about that one. And in 2024, around that same time, either after or right before, will be my 5th love-inspired suspense.
That's a lot, and that's a lot happening all at one time.
Yeah.
So tell us how this happened, because usually it doesn't happen. Usually people have a book release, and maybe a year or two later they have another book release.
So my writing journey, one of my friends that I've met on this journey, she called my writing career going down class 5 rapids without an oar.
I love that.
Yeah. And it kind of has been. It started out as a bucket list item to write a novel, not publish, just write it, say I did it, check the box, done. Through that process, I ended up, for whatever reason, finding a Christian writing group near me. and going to a workshop there, which led into 6 months later going to my first conference in the Bay Area here in California and meeting a group of people who pretty much wouldn't let me quit. They were like,
That is
no,
awesome.
you're going to do this, push, push, push. And they encouraged me to enter the ACFW Genesis contest for unpublished authors. And I did, and I finaled.
Okay, so how long between, like, this is something I might want to do till you're finaling in the Genesis? Because this
Less
seems
than
like
a year.
Okay. This does not happen, people. Let me just say right now. That is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I started writing mid to late July of 2016. Finaled in the Genesis. Signed with Tamala Hancock Murray as my agent in
She's been
May.
my friend for like 20 years, just so you know.
I love her. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
Signed with her May of 2018. And we threw some submissions out there. I ended up getting a revised resend for Love Inspired Suspense. And I had done that, turned it in, and we waited and waited. Typical, typical writing wait. Was accepted by Sunrise to do the Elite Guardian series. And then it was, I want to say 2 months later, or 3 months later, I guess, I got the call that I had the Love Inspired Suspense.
That is so cool.
And I already had the second one written. So as soon as that one was turned in and done, I turned in the second one, got that contract, turned in a proposal, and then I got a 3-book contract along with all the Sunrise stuff. So yeah, I started first words on paper, so to speak, first words on computer, July of 2016.
Okay, so this is so encouraging. So if you've ever had the dream, whether it was when you were a child, teenager, or like 3 months ago, if you sit down and work on it, not that you're going to have immediate success because you're not Sami. I mean, it could happen, but not guaranteed. But just to know, like, when we pursue something and God has a plan in it, and then you never know what can happen.
Exactly.
And I just love is that you had this dream, and then two things that you did are awesome. Attend a conference, it's always amazing, and then find people to support you and surround you. And for my very first conference, I had people that I joined a prayer group with, and I would say, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, oh no, you said by Friday you're going to do this. And I think that is really, really the key to success, being a learner, like being able to just absorb what they teach at conferences and all those things. Even though it's overwhelming, learn, and then have people there that are going to cheer you on. And then of course you're cheering other people on. And I think that's one thing that I love about the Christian writing community is that everyone just loves and supports and encourages people. And we at Sunrise have a group where we're always commenting or asking for prayer or I need this, or just it's so important to have those people in your life. So if you've ever thought about writing, I encourage you to do the two things Sami did: attend a conference, and then just surround yourself with people that will encourage you and not let you give up. Because then look what could happen. I love that so much. Okay, one thing that I always love, and you already kind of mentioned it, but let's talk about it a little bit more, because we love to hear what people are reading. And so you mentioned Terry Blackstock, and you mentioned who did you mention? Oh, D. Henderson. Yeah, and then Lynette Eason. So what are some other books that you find yourself, or other authors that you just find yourself gravitating to?
I love Lynn Blackburn. Love her books. Then Susan Sleeman, Irene Hannon, Carrie Stewart Parks, Nancy Mell. I'm probably going to forget half of the people here that, it's like, it's like one of those, you just start picking up books and it's like, oh, you look to see Colleen Coble. Does she have another book coming out? Am I picking it up? Then I have my love inspired suspense peeps
Mm-hmm.
that I'm reading their books. Darlene L. Turner, Virginia Vaughn, Shannon Redmond, Dana Arlin, Cherie Stover. It's like all those. It's like they're just. Jessica Patch just had one come out that I'm like, I've got to get my hands on that book. I've got to read it. I'm like so excited.
And those are usually found in Walmart.
Yes, for like a month.
Yeah, you have to go often.
Yes.
And see the new ones that are there.
Right.
So, but I mean, what a great place to have your book showing up.
Yeah. And you can get them on Amazon longer than you can at Walmart. But, it's like, it's cool to walk into Walmart and go, oh, there's my book.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an awesome thing. So if you're looking for, okay, this is the cool thing too. So I have a daughter, she's 19 now. But when we adopted her, she didn't know about reading, and definitely not Christian fiction. Let me just not read Christian fiction. And then I'm like, I know what you're gonna like. And I ordered her, we were going on vacation to Montana, and on her Kindle, I ordered her 4 or 5 love inspired suspense. And by the time we drove from Little Rock to Montana, she'd read 3 of them on the drive, and she's like, I need some more. So if you have someone that that they're definitely not going to read some Christian fiction, I think we always think it's going to be prairie books or different types of romancy books. There are other types of books Lily shows up and you're like, this is no prairie.
No, I was trying to see if I had my other one right here. Well, I don't have the book, but I have a notebook. Now,
cool.
Tell me, does that scream sweet? No. And
I guarantee so I'm going to order this as soon as we get off this video. I'm going to order this because I guarantee if I get that and just put it, on the coffee table in our living room, I have 5 kids at home. I guarantee 4 out of the 5, or maybe all 5 of them. I don't know. My 11-year-old boy, he might be like, I don't know. He's not much for it, but I guarantee the other 4 will be like, what's this? I want to read this. So that it's a great thing, but they're also, they're tense and there's action and there's conflict, but they're clean. They're clean. And so I think that's clean. They're clean. So that's so important when it comes to, so you can hand it to your 13-year-old and not have to worry oh my gosh, there's going to be this big love scene or too much gore or whatever. Even though there's action and there might be a little gore, but it's not going to be the huge stuff that is in a lot of books out there.
Yeah. There's a few of us that toe that line really close, but it doesn't cross over. You don't get the graphic.
Exactly.
From it, so.
Yeah. But there's fight scenes. There's all this cool stuff that okay, all right.
You can blow things up. It's great.
Blow things up. And, all kinds of stuff. People are knocked out and so such good stuff. All right. So for those who are like, yes, I want this. Yes, all the books. I want all the Sami things. Where can they go to find more information about you?
They can go to samiaabrams.com is my website. And on there are all the books that are coming out, that are out with all the dates and everything to go with it. And there is also a newsletter sign up where you could sign up for my newsletter and you get a free short story if you sign up.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was going to mention it and I forgot. So yes, you get a free short story. You start reading her stuff in 5 minutes. So just go to her website. But Sami, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to read more about this and find out what's going to happen because Lizzie's pretty cool and Charlie, I like Charlie too. But thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.